Welcome back to the Fifth Quarter Podcast. I'm your host, Owen Zajac. We have a great show for you today. We are very excited to be back and preview Super Bowl 60. Appreciate everyone tapping in here on YouTube. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment below your predictions for the Super Bowl. With that being said, what an amazing and an unprecedented Super Bowl matchup. A rematch of Super Bowl 49, but the teams are completely different from top to bottom. In this episode, we will break down both the positional matchups, talk about the keys to victory for each team, and predict who will be raising the Lombardi this Sunday. The grand finale of them all, 11 years in the making. A rematch of Super Bowl XLIX, Super Bowl 49. Of course, we are talking about the New England Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks. We look at this matchup. The Seahawks are a 4.5-point favorite. A lot of people are betting on the Seahawks. The Seahawks are heavy favorites in all the betting markets, which, if you look at history, in the last 10 Super Bowls with big spreads, 4.5 or bigger, 9 out of 10 of the times, the team that was the underdog, the plus 4.5 or more, the New England Patriots in this case, covered. And I think in 7 or maybe 6 of those matchups, that team won the game. So if we're just looking at history, betting odds, the Patriots, they could be a sneaky dog here, but I think a lot of people, as we know, the Seahawks are the better team from top to bottom. Their roster is more complete, but when it's the Super Bowl, we've seen it before. The New England Patriots, 16-0, losing to a wild card Giants team. It truly is a game where anything can happen. This is such an anomaly. It does not ever make sense. We've seen Nick Foles put up 40 points, one of the best performances by a quarterback in the Super Bowl ever. So when it comes to this game, the Seahawks might be the favorite, but this can shape up anyway. It could go towards the Patriots. It could go towards the Seahawks. I'm hoping it goes towards the Patriots, but we're going to dive into this matchup without a bias lens. So let's just dive straight into the matchups that make this such a good Super Bowl, such an unprecedented Super Bowl, and really should make for a good game. So let's look at how these teams got here. The Patriots had to play that first round. They came in as a 2 seed. They hosted the Chargers in a game in which they won 16-3. It was a massive defensive battle. Both offensive lines did not hold up well, and the Patriots defeat the Chargers by a score of 16-3. In that game, the Patriots defense had 4 forced fumbles against Justin Herbert, and Drake May was also getting beat up in the pocket, but not as badly as Herbert was. The Chargers didn't capitalize in the red zone. They had a 4th and goal opportunity that they went for it, didn't get it, and the Patriots defense in the second half got a ton of pressure on Herbert, and that was the difference in this game. They moved on to the next round where they hosted again, this time the Houston Texans, in a blizzard of a game. They defeated the Texans 28-16 in a, like I said, a blizzard in which CJ Stroud threw 4 interceptions. They had another turnover, so the Patriots defense forced 5 turnovers, converted one of those into a pick-6 touchdown. And Drake May in the second half was a lot better. They got that deep ball to Kayshon Boutte, one-handed touchdown as that exclamation point. The Patriots move on to the AFC Championship. There, and once again, another defensive battle, they defeat the Broncos without Bo Nix 10-7, in which you look at the first half, it was kind of slow. Jarrett Stidham has a long pass. They get a touchdown. The Broncos are hyped early. And then the second half, it was a nightmare. The Broncos couldn't move the ball on offense. The Patriots were trying to run the ball slowly but surely, taking down the time. They were able to convert a field goal close to the goal line. And in the second half, a blizzard came out of nowhere. There was virtually no offense in the second half. I think there were 4 missed field goals in total in this game. It was just a disaster from all ends. The Patriots sneak away to the Super Bowl by a score of 10-7. On the NFC side, the Seahawks, the number 1 seed, they came off a bye, only had to play 2 games. In their first game, they played their division rival, the San Francisco 49ers, a team that they fought in Week 18 for the number 1 seed and handled. They handled them once again. George Kittle, their only weapon on offense that was fully healthy, if you can even call it that. He came in with a calf designation. He tears his Achilles early in the first half, and that was really the major difference in this game. After that, it was not close at all. Seahawks win this game 41-6 in dominating fashion. Then they go on to the NFC Championship and host another division rival, this time the Los Angeles Rams, a team that they had gone back and forth with and split the season series with 1-1. They go into this game. They come away 31-27, narrowly escaping in an offensive battle. It was a game in which Kenneth Walker was the only running back for the Seahawks. It was a game in which Sam Darnold balled out, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers, and the Seahawks sneak away. They defeat 2 division rivals in the playoffs, and now they're off to the Super Bowl. We look at this matchup. I think a lot of people are talking about the quarterbacks, and that's deservedly so. Drake May, an MVP candidate during the regular season, hasn't had the best of luck. He has not had a great postseason, but he's really made the most of it by using his legs in key situations. Drake May, 533 passing yards over these 3 games, but 164 rushing yards. So almost 55 yards per game on the ground for him. Against the Broncos, he had 68 rushing yards compared to only 86 passing yards. And the legs at the end, we saw it. It got him the first down to win the game. Drake May's legs have been what's keeping them in these games and has really been the major difference maker, as he hasn't been passing the ball as efficiently as they would like him to be. He's had 5 total touchdowns and he's had 5 total turnovers. And he's even had more than that. He's had 6 fumbles. Only 3 of them were lost. So he's really not been careful with the ball, but against the Broncos, he had no turnovers, and that is going to be huge. Those first 3 games, like I said, 5 turnovers, and he could have up to 8. So he really protected the ball well against the Broncos, and he's going to need to continue to do that against the Seahawks. Talking about the Seahawks and their quarterback, Sam Darnold, he's really the golden boy of these playoffs, and especially of the Super Bowl. Sam Darnold, he has this miraculous comeback story. He's the feel-good guy. He was cast off as a bust. He goes to the Jets, doesn't get the job done there. He's cast off. He goes to all these teams. He's with the Panthers. He's with the Vikings. He wins with the Vikings, 14 games. He has a rough end of the season. They don't get the number 1 seed in that Week 18 matchup versus the Lions. He has a really pathetic game. They go in as a wild card. Then he has another pathetic performance against the Rams. He's cast off. They said, we're going to roll the dice with J.J. McCarthy. Didn't go well for the Vikings with J.J. McCarthy, his injury, his development. And here Sam Darnold is with another team in the Super Bowl. Sam Darnold, the golden boy of the playoffs. And I think he's been playing some of his best football, which last year he's always had this connotation of he's not a big game player. We saw those 2 biggest games of his career last year with the Vikings. He fizzled out, didn't play his best ball in those games. And then this year, he has an epic Thursday night matchup against the Rams. Thursday night football, he balls out. They get the win in overtime. They get the touchdown. They get the 2-point conversion. Seattle's going crazy. He comes in the playoffs. He has no turnovers. He's stomping down his division rivals. He has an offensive masterclass versus the Rams to take his team to the Super Bowl. He's really progressed. He's really gotten that monkey off his back of not being able to get the job done in big games. Sam Darnold is the golden boy of this playoffs, and he's going to look to cap it off with a cherry on top with a Super Bowl victory. Gaston, you look at this quarterback matchup, you look at this in the Super Bowl, 2 quarterbacks that have played really well this year. What are you looking for in this quarterback battle?
I'm looking for who doesn't turn the ball over. That was one of the issues with Sam Darnold before early in his career, was turning the ball over during pressure. And Seattle's protects him pretty well during this playoffs run. And he also did very well late in the season whenever he was playing the Rams and also the 49ers. I think with Drake May has did really well in that last playoff game, which is don't turn the ball over. You have an elite defense, and it's going to come down to who doesn't make mistakes. I think Drake May is going to have to do more than he did in the other games because I think Seattle's defense is good, and I think Seattle's offense is also good. I don't think this is going to be a slugfest like it was against the Texans, Chargers, and the Broncos. Teams that had an offense that was very flaky and inconsistent throughout the year. It's just the Patriots happen to not turn the ball over and play smart. I think he's going to have to bring his A game when you're playing Seattle.
And then we look at this running back battle. Zach Charbonnet goes down. That's a huge injury for the Seahawks. They're going to be solely reliant on Kenneth Walker to carry them in the rush game. Kenneth Walker in his 2 games, 38 carries, 178 yards. Pretty good. But against the Rams, he really was not running the ball that much. He had 19 carries, under 50 yards. Kenneth Walker is going to have a difficult game because the Patriots' rush defense is 6th in the NFL. Kenneth Walker is going to be a key factor. He's going to have to be able to run the ball efficiently for the Seahawks to win this game. We take it over to the other side, the Patriots. They have a 2-back system. This is what the Seahawks had with Charbonnet and K9 and what the Patriots do have in this game. Ramondre has had a monster playoffs. He has been the sole running back for them, getting the majority of the carries, and has been especially efficient in the passing game, especially against the Chargers. He has 51 carries, 194 yards, so just about 4 yards per carry. And then he has 7 receptions for 86 yards, most of that against the Chargers. And then Henderson, last week against the Broncos, he only had 3 rushes for 5 yards, was rarely utilized. But in this game, Henderson is going to be a massive, massive key to victory for the Patriots. Henderson only has 24 carries for 57 yards, so just over 2 yards per carry. Not a great playoffs by any means for him, but he is that explosive factor. He is going to be a player that we'll get into the defenses in a little bit, but he is going to be massive for the Patriots. Just like K9, he is going to need to be able to run the ball efficiently or break one out for an explosive play if the Patriots want to win this game. When you look at these running backs, you have K9 on one side, you have Henderson and Ramondre on the other side. Which running back room do you like better in this Super Bowl, Gaston?
I think the Patriots. I think it showed last week, but if you actually watch the game, the Patriots were dictating the line of scrimmage. They were killing clock, especially in the second half. It really showed. And also, don't forget, too, that their running backs have also contributed in the passing game, which I think provides a better element. Compared to Seattle, you only have one running back. He has to carry most of the running game through him. I think that's a huge burden, and that's something that's easier to scheme for if you're on defense.
When we look at the receivers in this matchup, we can obviously point to JSN. He has been one of the best. It's either him or Puka. They have been the number one wide receiver in the NFL. I really think JSN is that special. I would say that he was the number one receiver in the NFL this year, even above a Jamar, even above a Justin Jefferson, even above Puka. JSN in the playoffs, he had a massive game last week against the Rams. In total, in 2 games, 13 receptions, 172 yards. He is going to have his toughest test yet going against Christian Gonzalez on the other side. It's going to be a fascinating one-on-one matchup between one of the best receivers in the NFL versus one of the best man corners in the NFL. That's going to be cinematic, and that is also going to be a massive matchup. Jackson Smith-Njigba, he is targeted as a receiver, percentage-wise, more than any other player in the NFL. If Sam Darnold is taking a pass snap, he is trying to pass the ball to Jackson Smith-Njigba more than any quarterback is passing to any receiver or tight end in the entire league. Christian Gonzalez going to be a massive, and I keep saying massive, but it's going to be a massive factor in this game. That's going to be the number one matchup that people are going to be locked in, tuned in on, because if Sam Darnold cannot pass the ball to Jackson Smith-Njigba that much, it's going to completely change how he processes the game, especially in the passing area. We know K9 can get the ball done. He can rush the ball efficiently, but K9 really has not been a back that gets too much pass catching. Charbonnet has been a lot of that, as well as the goal line. So you take away Jackson Smith-Njigba. If he has less than 5 receptions, if he has less than 50 yards, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how Darnold can pass the ball around without targeting his number one receiver. We look at the Patriots, their number one receiver, Stefon Diggs, has had a very quiet postseason, only 11 catches for 73 yards. He really has not been a huge factor, but the Seahawks are definitely going to be tuned in. We'll see if Witherspoon is on Diggs or if they sign someone else in the nickel to focus on Diggs, who primarily has been coming out of the slot. You look at these wide receiver ones, you look at how New England is more of a wide receiver by committee, although Diggs is the number one receiver. You look at these 2 wide receiver rooms, the Seahawks, they got JSN, Jake Bobo, they got AJ Barner at tight end. You look at these 2 different rooms. Which of these rooms do you think are going to need to be better in this game, are going to need to have more of an impact for their team?
In my opinion, the better group is Seattle by a good margin. Although the Patriots, in my opinion, have to have a better performance. It's more important for them to perform well than I think it is for Seattle. Because Stefon Diggs is a great player, but some of his other players on that offense, not nearly as much of a star-studded offense I think Seattle has. But I think they're going to need to step up for this game.
Let's take it over to the defensive side of the ball. We all know these are 2 teams with very good defenses. Like I said earlier, the Patriots rush defense 6th in the NFL. The Seahawks rush defense 3rd in the NFL. These are both teams that have drastically improved their offensive lines this past offseason. both through the first round of the draft as well as free agency. Greg Zabel on the Seahawks offensive line, rookie guard, has been playing phenomenal. The Patriots, left guard, Jared Wilson, left tackle, Will Campbell, right tackle, Morgan Moses in free agency. These are both teams that had a weaker O-line last season, and they drafted rookies in the first round to address those issues as well as free agency targeted. We look at the defense, though. The Patriots pass defense, 9th in the NFL. The Seahawks pass defense, 10th in the NFL. So by every metric, rush, pass, both of these teams are top 10 in these metrics. These are two teams that have defensive head coaches. These are two teams that have played very good defense all year. And this is going to be more of a defensive battle than people like to admit. I think the over-under is around 44 points. That's kind of what the Patriots games have been around this whole playoffs. Those games have gone around or under that every single game. You look at the Patriots last week, it was 10-7. I know that was a blizzard, but the Patriots, Seahawks, I don't think it's going to be as much of an offensive masterclass as people are projecting, especially if we see JSN get locked up or if we see Drake May start to struggle with some turnovers like he did in his first two playoff games. Diving into the more analytics, the more structure, diving into the film of these defenses, let's discuss what these defenses bring and how they're going to look possibly in this matchup. Let's start with the Patriots defense. They play a base 3-4 defense. So when you look at this defense, a lot of the times they will play nickel or they will play dime. They will bring in a lot of defensive backs because their secondary is very deep and they rely on their two interior defensive tackles to kind of make up for the rest of the defensive line. They have Christian Barmore and Milton Williams. They're two stud defensive tackles, and they were really weak at edge. They haven't had Harold Landry. Kayvon Chaison's been above average, so they rely on guys like Christian Gonzalez, Carlton Davis, Marcus Jones in the secondary to cover the deep ends. They play quarters. A lot of the times they'll bring in 5 or 6 defensive backs in their nickel or dime packages, and they like to disguise the formats on defense. They try to get that interior pressure. They try to stop the run and then force teams to pass the ball. They want to make an impact on first down, put you in 2nd and long, 3rd and long, so that they can rely on their deep secondary to play 5 or 6 defensive backs and get you off the field. We've seen them create a lot of different pressures by using different defensive line gap schemes. So you'll go and you'll see a defensive tackle push off the one guard and they'll wrap around and have another nose tackle run it straight at the quarterback. If K9 is not pass blocking well, the Seahawks are cooked. K9 is going to have to read these pass rushes. He's going to have to find the man. And if he has a nose tackle running straight at him through the A-gap, that's not going to look good for them. I think the Patriots are going to do a lot of these schemes, and I think that they might get to Sam Darnold a few times, especially early. The Patriots also, in their secondary, like to run a lot of man-on-man. Again, they have Christian Gonzalez, one of the best corners in the league. He will play one-on-one on Jackson Smith-Njigba, most likely. If he is doing that, likely then you'll have Carlton Davis on either Cooper Kupp or Jake Bobo. For the Seahawks, their advantage, A.J. Barner is going to have to get livid in the passing game. A.J. Barner is going to have a linebacker on him. He might have a defensive back on him. If they get the defensive back on him in a nickel or dime, he is going to have to make those strong contested catches and outwill him with his run after catch and breaking tackles. Also, if they're not playing nickel, they're playing a base defense, A.J. Barner's going to have to run block. A.J. Barner, he is going to be the number one piece on their offense that's going to have to play well. Him and K9 are like 2 peas in a pod. They're going to have to do multiple things. He's going to have to block well when it's regular base defense, and he's going to have to beat defensive backs physically when they're playing nickel or dime. K9, he's going to have to pass block well, and he's going to have to get these 300-pound dudes to protect Sam Darnold, and he's also going to have to run the ball up the gut efficiently against a very good rush defense. For the Seahawks, their defense is very, very, very good, and Mike McDonald has been running the same defense. He runs a 3-4 base defense, just like the Patriots, but he runs this very heavily. 87% of the snaps, he runs 4 linemen and a nickel package with 5 defensive backs. That is an extremely high number, but they have so much talent on their defensive ball. They swarm tackle. Josh McDaniels, the Patriots offensive coordinator, likes to run a lot of screenplays. With this Seahawks swarm defense, that is not a good matchup for their screenplays. The Patriots offense is going to need to avoid that because they will all swarm to one side. You see things like a jet sweep, you see a screen pass, The Seahawks are trying to stop that. They're trying to stop these plays in the background. The Patriots offense is going to need to run a lot of mesh concepts to try to avoid this. They're also going to need to let plays develop, which means the Patriots offensive line is going to need to hold up. They're going to have guys like DeMarcus Lawrence coming for Drake May. Will Campbell has really struggled this playoffs, played a little bit better versus Denver. But if Will Campbell cannot hold up his side against either DeMarcus Lawrence, whoever's coming towards him, that is going to be a massive issue for Drake May and the Patriots. And that is going to be Seattle's main key to victory. You look at these two schemes, Gaston, the Patriots defense and how they play, the Seahawks defense and how they're going to come against the Patriots. Which defense do you like better in this matchup?
For me, I'm going to go with Seattle. I think they've beat better teams, and they beat them more convincingly that the Patriots have, and that's not disrespect to them as much as it is. They weren't very good offense. The Texans, new offensive coordinator, he may get fired. Chargers fired their offensive coordinator. Broncos, even when they had Bo Nix, they didn't really win games convincingly on offense. They kind of just lucked out, whereas the 49ers, there was a point this season, they played the Bears. I know I'm biased for this, but they outscored the Bears by a lot. And I just think it's that. And I think the Rams, too, like they beat the Rams in a convincing way, too, even though the score shows differently. I do think Seattle dominated that game. So I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks.
For the Patriots' key to victory, it's going to be Drake May in the passing game. He's done it with his legs, and I think he's going to continue to be able to do it. Maybe not to that extent of 50 or so rushing yards, but he's got to be able to pass the ball downfield better. The weather has been a major impact these last two games, but he needs to be able to pass the ball down the stripes, get one of those go balls to Kayshon Boutte or Kyle Williams. He's got to be able to pass the ball, throw for over 200 passing yards in this game. For the Seahawks key to victory is JSN production. JSN, Christian Gonzalez. If JSN, like I said, his target share, the highest percentage in the league, JSN is going to need to produce over 60, 70, maybe 80 yards. Sam Darnold needs to be able to throw him the ball in third downs, fourth downs, key situations like that, and JSN has to make those catches. And the last question of them all, Gaston, who is winning the Super Bowl?
I'm taking Sam Darnold every day of the week. He's going to change the narrative around him. He's going to be the first quarterback in the 2018 draft class to win a Super Bowl. He's going to ball out, and he will no longer be known as the guy who saw ghosts. He'll be known as the guy that made the Patriots see ghosts.
For me, I'm going to veer different from you. Just because I'm wearing a Patriots jersey doesn't mean any different. I think the Patriots are going to get the job done. Mike Vrabel is going to win his first Super Bowl as a head coach. Drake May, his first Super Bowl, first of many. And the Patriots as the underdogs, just like the first dynasty in 2001, they're going to win their first Super Bowl under the Mike Vrabel, Drake May era. A phenomenal matchup, one game for all the marbles, bragging rights, history, legacies, all on the line. We will be back with you next week to react to Super Bowl 60. That's going to do it for this week's episode of the Fifth Quarter Podcast. If you enjoyed this, hit like, subscribe, and drop your Super Bowl prediction takes in the comments. Appreciate you all for watching. We'll see you in the aftermath.